What's up guys, my name is Lauren and welcome back to my channel and to another episode of my favorite series on this channel, and that is Debt Confessions. One of you submitted your real numbers for me to review so I can give you some ideas and suggestions for your own debt payoff journey. If you're new here, my husband and I have been on our own debt-free journey for 4.5 years now. We've paid off over $150,000 of debt, and I share the play-by-play of our story in real time here on my channel so you can get an inside look into how we have accomplished this. So if you're in debt and you need some motivation or just need some money motivation in general, you have come to the right place. Today's confession is from Sophia. She is a nurse and she is 40 years old. She is married with kids and she lives in Connecticut. Her and her husband rent their condo and she currently has $15,000 of debt. So let me break it down for you. She has one credit card with $8,100 of debt, and that has a 20.24% interest rate. And then she also has a student loan, and that balance is $6,900, and that has a 7% interest rate. Her gross income is $110,000, but her net income after taxes and insurance and everything comes out is $71,000. Now, even though this is a debt confession, the most concerning part of her finances for me is that she has $0 in savings and $0 invested. She also does not complete a monthly budget. Good for you for being honest about that. But budgeting has been such a huge game changer for us in our own debt-free journey, so I definitely recommend to start budgeting, even just a simple budget on pen and paper, if anything, as soon as possible. But she does have a good handle on her monthly expenses and she listed them out for me. So I'll show you that in just a second when we jump to the spreadsheet. Her biggest financial goal is to start investing, which makes me really happy to hear because investing is so important to be able to retire one day. As much as debt payoff is a huge goal for many people and it's a more simple, straightforward goal because you have a specific number of the amount of debt you have, and so you know how far it is to reach your goal. In her case, she knows $15,000 is the amount she needs to reach her debt payoff goal. But when it comes to investing for retirement, it's more open-ended and kind of subjective on how much you think you're going to need. And there's definitely ways you can calculate it and estimate it, but it's not so clear cut to know, okay, once I have this exact dollar amount invested, I'm good to go. And also it's just a lot more intimidating, I think, to get started with investing than it is to pay off debt. So we're definitely going to talk about investing because she's 40, like I said, so time is of the essence. All right, I'm going to jump to the spreadsheet now, but before I do, if you like this spreadsheet, it's my budget dashboard. You can use it for monthly and annual budgeting. It has a ton of great reporting features and can keep track of your debt payoff journey as well. It's an instant download to Google Sheets and comes with a detailed video tutorial. So that will be linked in the video description, and if the video tutorial itself isn't enough for you to feel comfortable to get started with budgeting, debt payoff, creating a plan for your money, then I do also offer a budget coaching program where you can work with me one-on-one, and that'll also be linked in the video description. All right, I put all her numbers into my budget dashboard to create a mock budget for her. So let's go over her budget and see how it's looking so far. So she gets paid around $5,900 a month. I just took her salary and divided by 12. Her expenses are rent, which is $1,200. That's a pretty reasonable amount for her income, I think. Her utilities are $300 a month, and then she pays $560 a month for childcare. Phone bill is $200 a month. I think she could get that down. My husband and I pay $65 a month for 2 lines, so maybe look into options for lowering your phone bill. Internet is $70. I think that's pretty reasonable. For groceries, she's budgeted $1,200. That's very similar to what we spend for our family and we live in a similar area, so I think that's a reasonable amount for groceries. Okay, I noticed she didn't include a few things in her budget that I'm sure she pays for, so I added them in for her. I didn't put dollar amounts, but let's just put some amounts in. So she didn't include an amount for gas or any sort of like car expenses or car insurance or anything like that. So I'm going to add in an expense of $250 a month. Personal spending, we all need personal spending money for things like haircuts or new clothes or things like that. So I'm going to put in $200 a month for personal spending for the family. It probably needs to be higher than that, but she didn't include anything, so I'm just giving them each like $50 a month. And then for miscellaneous, I'll put in $100 because there's always those miscellaneous expenses that come up. All right, for pay yourself first, like we said, she's not budgeting anything. She doesn't have any sinking funds, so we'll come back to that in a second. And then for her credit card payment, she pays $500 a month. Now on a balance of $8,000, I'm guessing she's paying extra. I don't think her credit card minimum payment would be $500 on a balance of $8,000. I could be wrong. But I suspect she's paying at least a little bit extra on this. And then her student loan is $200 $400 a month. So looking over here, that leaves her with a balance left to budget of $1,137. So we're gonna pop back over here to the sinking funds. Now I love sinking funds. Sinking funds are where you put a little bit of money aside every single month, and you may or may not need to spend the money that month, but you stash it away so when the expense comes up, it doesn't blow up your whole budget. So some typical sinking funds that people do and ones that we do are emergency fund, vacation fund, car maintenance, and kids. If you own your own home, you probably also want to include a house maintenance fund, but she rents, and so I didn't include that here. All right, so we have an amount left to budget of $1,137. So this is the order that I like to do things in. I shared this in a video a while back called Where to Put Your Next Dollar. Just the best order to accomplish financial goals when you have multiple things you want to do. She doesn't have an emergency fund, so she's going to need to build that up. She has debt. She has high interest debt, and then she has like moderate interest debt. She wants to invest for retirement. Like there's all these different goals, and I think some people get paralyzed not knowing which to attack first, and so they just kind of like don't make progress on any of them. So I put together an order of priority of where to put your next dollar through my own learning and my own debt payoff journey, and so I'm going to apply that here. So I'm going to go over it quickly with you, and then we can take a look back at her budget and see where we put the money. So first of all, I recommend having a 1-month emergency fund. So 1 month worth of like your minimum basic expenses. So if you have something come up, you don't need to use a credit card or go further into debt to pay for that expense. Next, I recommend taking advantage of any employer benefits for investing, such as an employer match. So if your employer will match dollars that you put into retirement, that is a 100% return on your money. It's free money. You don't want to leave that on the table. Next, I recommend paying off any high interest debt or high risk debt. In her case, she has credit card debt, which I consider high risk, and it is high interest debt at 20% interest. So after building up a 1-month emergency fund and making sure she's getting any employer match she's eligible for, that's where I put every dollar after that. Once high interest debt is paid off, so once her credit card is paid off, I wouldn't worry too much about paying the student loans. I would build up your emergency fund to 3 to 6 months. And that gives you an even better cushion for if you get laid off or something else comes up that's a bigger expense, you know you're not going to get back into credit card debt after you just got out of it. Number 5 would be invest for retirement. And she said this is a big priority for her. And while this is number 5, I also have a really important recommendation for her to do right now, today. And I'll share that in just a minute. And then finally, the last step is to pay off low interest debt or low risk debt like her student loans and save and invest for any other financial priority she has. So going back to the budget, we can see that she has $1,137 left to budget. So if we go by that order of where to put your next dollar, that would mean she puts everything into her emergency fund. So if I scroll down to the sinking funds, I would put that right in here, and that would allow her to build that up. Now her monthly expenses are around $4,000, so it'll take her like 3 to 4 months to build up a 1-month emergency fund. Actually, I'm going to change this to $1,100 for a really important reason. So for someone who has never invested before, this is like a step 0. Even before you have your emergency fund, even before you have paid off your high interest debt, all of that. And I talk to people in my budget coaching program about this all the time. I really like people to start practicing investing. And what that means is putting a very small amount into an investment account every single month. Open an account, set it up, get an automatic investment of, let's say, $25 a month, and learn how the process works. So let me give you an example of something she could do. This is not financial advice, this is just an example. So she could take the other $37 available in her budget and open a Roth IRA with Vanguard. You go onto the Vanguard website, it's very user-friendly, step-by-step, boom, open a Roth IRA. Next, she sets up a reoccurring investment for $37 every single month. And as part of that reoccurring investment, she makes sure that that money is invested in a low-cost, broad-based index fund. For example, not advice, for example, she could invest in VTI. VTI is an EFT, and you can buy fractional shares, and all that means is you can invest as little as $1 into VTI. There's not a minimum amount that you have to buy into the fund. Some funds, there's like a minimum of $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 you have to have built up before you can actually invest the money, because moving the money into the account isn't enough. You have to actually take the next step and invest it. But for VTI, Vanguard offers fractional share investing. So she could invest $37 every single month in VTI and just get that going. Get used to the feeling of investing. And I like this strategy too because it starts out with a really small amount of money. money so people who are nervous about investing and nervous about losing money can see how the process works and get used to the feeling of investing. And that way, once you build up your emergency fund, once you pay off your high interest debt and you're ready to start investing more, you already have it set up and you just go in there and you increase the dollar amount and then it continues going. Because I think the hardest part of investing is the initial setup and getting it started and getting used to that feeling. Once it's going, increasing the dollar amount becomes easier. So I definitely suggest to her and anyone who's never invested before to get started with investing as soon as possible with a very small amount of money if you have other financial goals you need to work on first. Now, like I said, I like people to take advantage of the employer match even if you have high interest debt. So if her employer does offer a match, I would get that set up and contribute enough to at least get the match before she starts paying off her credit card debt. So once she has built up her emergency fund of $4,000, I would then switch to putting that $1,100 a month to her credit card. She's already paying $500 a month to that credit card, and so with the additional $1,100, that'll be $1,600 a month, and that'll take her about 5 months to pay off that credit card completely and be credit card debt free. At that point, I think she should go back to contributing to the emergency fund and build that up to at least 3 months of expenses, and then the fun part comes, which is her main goal, and that is investing for retirement. Once you're at that 3-month emergency fund, I would take everything you have and put it towards your retirement, either through her employer or through a Roth IRA or a combination of both. Even if you don't get an employer match, sometimes it's good to invest through an employer because it comes out of your paycheck and doesn't ever hit your bank account, and it removes the option of human error. And so if that money never hits your bank account, you're much less likely to spend it. If you have really good discipline or your employer doesn't offer a retirement plan, then a Roth IRA is a great way to invest your money for retirement. So you have to just know yourself and know which is best for you. A lot of times employer-based retirement plans have more fees and less investing options, and Roth IRAs, if you open it wherever you want to open it, depending on what you invest in, has minimal or zero fees. So, you got to weigh those different things, but no matter what, investing absolutely necessary. Now, just because she's 40 and has nothing invested doesn't mean she can't have a really comfortable retirement. And I want to show you the spreadsheet to see where she could end up if she starts investing consistently in the next year or so. So let's say she starts investing seriously in 2025. At that time, she'll be 41 and she'll be starting with $0 invested. Let's say she takes the $500 that she was putting towards her credit card plus the $1,100 that she had extra in her budget, a total of $1,600. And instead of having to put it to debt or savings, she puts that to investing every single month for the rest of her career. Now, a lot of people have their income go up over time, and so they're able to increase their investments over time. So let's just say she increases her investment amount by 3% every single year. And then let's assume a growth percentage of 8%. This spreadsheet allows you to mess around with it, and you can change the percentages. I'll link the spreadsheet below as well. It's not part of the budget dashboard. It's part of some retirement tools that I have. Yeah, so let's say it's 8%. We'll change these percentages around in a minute so you can see how it affects things, but let's say it's 8%. So starting, year one, she has $0. And let's scroll all the way down to age 65 and see where she could be at by retirement age. And you can see there, if we make all these assumptions, she would have 1.8 million. So that is the power of investing over the course of 25 years. If you invest consistently over time, increasing that amount over time, then you can end up with a very comfortable retirement. If you don't invest, then your money can't work for you and compound. And the longer you invest for, the more time your money has to compound and grow. So like I said, time is of the essence to get started as soon as possible. I think the number one regret that I see people say when they're interviewed about what their money regrets are, most people say they wish they started investing sooner. So everyone wishes they started investing sooner. People who start at 40 probably will wish they did at 30. People who start at 30 wish they did at 20. 20-year-olds wish they did it when they were 3. Just the sooner you invest, the more your money can compound and grow. Now, if we change this to a 7% rate of return, if you want to be a little more conservative, at age 65, she would still have 1.6 million. And if we changed it to the average stock market return over the last 100 years, which is 10%, she could have even more than that at almost $2.4 million. So I think she has a lot of good things going for her. She has a good income. She has relatively low expenses. She has the extra money in her budget to put towards her financial goals. And I think if she just gets focused and organized, she can accomplish a lot and is going to be very successful. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, as always, give it a big thumbs up. It really helps on my channel. And if you want to see more videos like this from me, then hit that subscribe button. If you like any of these spreadsheets or want to work with me, all those things will be linked below. And I'll see you guys soon in the next one. Bye.